Italian Football Podcast.
Allegri, I think we should talk about that.
Oh, we're going to talk about Allegri, don't worry.
No, I think we should talk about that, and I know you want to. Look, listen, I think that those eight games in a row showed glimpses of what his Juve can do. And
an embryo.
Do. No, even more than an embryo. I'd say this is a 9-month pregnancy. I think we're almost into 6, 7, 8, 9 months to take that. No, we are. The child hasn't been born yet, but it's we're close to. I'd say one more
child.
Well, I mean, the question is, well, that's actually a good analogy, because at Juve the children are ugly, but they're successful. At Juve, the winning is the only thing that matters. Exactly like Spalletti said, that at Juve the winning is the only thing that matters. Whilst here at Napoli, we have an obligation to play beautiful. We are a club where Maradona played. These things matter, and I think Allegri is. I think next season is where you don't want to see anything like this. Next season is where it has to work. They need to invest. They need to have a structure in place, both off the pitch, because they don't have one at all right now, and they need to continue down this path. I think what we saw was a team that those 8 wins showed what his Juve can be. And the match against Napoli showed that Allegri's Juve isn't there yet, far from it. And more than that, I'm not going to go on and say, because they lost one game against one of the best teams in Europe, throw everything out and sack him. No, bring in De Zerbi, or as I like to call him, Bancarelle Pep. He's like a rip-off shirt from Pep Guardiola. When you were a kid in the 90s and you wanted because it wasn't like now where you could go online and buy everything, but I wanted a Roberto Baggio shirt in the 90s, right? For Italy shirt. And God bless my relatives, they sent me one that cost like 10,000 lira at the market stalls, which was pretty much a polyester, rip-off. That's how I see De Zerbi as a Bancarelle Pep, as a market cheap rip-off market stool.
I think you're going to regret saying that.
No,
you're going to regret saying that. But anyway, listen, look, I don't want to get away. I don't want to get away and deflect. Allegri, this is why I stuck to my guns on Allegri. During this 8-game winning run, where you got all these planks, Juventus fans and Allegri disciples that were boasting about how Allegri has proven the doubters wrong. Allegri was back. All those that were criticising Allegri, how stupid they were, how Juventus were going to win the title, they were going to win trophies. I stuck to my guns throughout. And I have done for 18 months. Winning 1-0 every game while barely creating anything. 5 of those 8 wins were 1-0. That's unsustainable. You can't keep grinding out 1-0 wins while barely having a chance, and with late goals from goalkeeping blunders like we saw in the game against Cremonese. Eventually, your luck runs out and your true quality is shown, and that is what happened on Friday. We saw Juventus' true level when they played against a top team. And again, I've stayed consistent on Allegri. I'm not going to change. I've not flip-flopped once, as some have. Allegri is outdated. His football is outdated. You can't play ultra-defensive, low-block, counter-attacking football with no pressing, no intensity, and expect to have success at the top level in club football in 2023. You can't. And, yet again in this game, if we're looking specifically at this game, he started a 3-5-1-1 against Napoli. Federico Chiesa at right wing-back is a crime against football. It's a crime against football. When Beppe Iacchini, with that stupid baseball hat, was playing Chiesa, a right wing back, what were we saying? We were all taking the piss out of him. All of us. We were saying,
I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. I don't think it was a 3-5-1-1. I think that's unfair. I think it was a 3-5-1-1 without position that transitioned into the 3-4-2-1 in counter attack.
Well, they're never in counter attack because they were all defending in their penalty area all the time.
That was the problem, because the midfield and defense were off their game. And there was no intensity and pressure,
because Allegri plays that kind of football, Nima. Chiesa's always going to be playing as a right wing back. He's never going to be up the pitch to do what he wants to do, because that's how he plays, and that's what's going to happen against Napoli. It's obvious. An Allegri team against Napoli are going to get completely outpossessed. But anyway,
Allegri said himself that he sees
playing Chiesa. Look, we can't get away from the fact that playing Chiesa as a right wing back is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. For me, that's a sackable offence on its own. Playing Chiesa at right wing back. One of the best wingers in the world, playing him as a right wing back. He was at fault for 2 of the goals as well, by the way. The first 2 goals, Chiesa was at fault for that. But that's just talking from him on the defensive side, which Allegri's obsessed with himself. But I'm talking about not having a Chiesa playing up the field in an attacking winger position. That is a crime, not putting him in his position. This guy's, it's like playing Kylian Mbappe as a right wing back or Mo Salah as a right wing back. It is absolutely unforgivable. It's unforgivable. And this is why I said last week, Chiesa has just come back from injury, right? For now, my focus on Chiesa is I just want him to build up his fitness, not get any more injuries, not be overplayed like Zaniolo. And in a way, I think Allegri maybe is the best coach for that because he's not going to overplay him, I hope. Although he did start this game. But I did also add that long term, Allegri is the worst manager possible for Chiesa. And if Allegri is still at Juventus next season, I want Chiesa to leave because Allegri will destroy him. He was already destroying Chiesa last season before his injury. Look at Chiesa in the first half of last season, how he played. Look at his stats, look at his performances. He was playing him basically as a second right back, as I used to say, in the 4-4-2, as a right midfielder that was just tracking back all the time. Now he's playing him as a right wing back. It's unforgivable. And, Chiesa needs to leave. And I think Allegri is not only terrible for the development of players like Chiesa and young Italians, but he's terrible for the Italy national team. And, he just doesn't develop young players. And I think that brings me on nicely to the second point I want to really criticise Allegri for in this game. Dropping all the kids against Napoli. Again, unforgivable.
Yeah, this is something I agree with.
It was the kids who took Juventus on this 8-game run.
I'm so glad you said that.
Allegri only played them. And this is the point. This is why when people give Allegri credit for the 8-game winning run, and of course you have to give him credit for it, but remember that Allegri was forced to play the likes of Miretti and Fagioli and some of the others that even come on as subs like Ilim Jr. and the like. He was forced to play these because he couldn't have anyone else available. He had so many injuries. He had to play the kids. Then they happened to play really, really well. They played better than the senior players that they replaced, like McKennie and the others. And they did, and they went on this excellent 8-game winning run. Now, as soon as a Napoli game comes along and he's got most of his players back now, what does he do? He drops all the kids and he goes back to the seniors who had failed for well over a year under Allegri. And what is the result? They get smashed 5-1. So again, it's unforgivable.
I agree with. I think that was a mistake. Dropping play one of them at least. That I do. I am very critical of him for that. I thought that was a mistake, especially given how Juve have looked when the kids have played. I thought that was a mistake. But then again, maybe he wanted to protect them from playing and getting smashed 5-1 like this.
But they haven't been getting smashed though when the youngsters have played. They've been winning all their games.
But they haven't played Napoli either. My point is simply that maybe he was taking this, trying to protect young players as well. I think a lot of times we have to remember that these kinds of heavy defeats for young players can really leave their mark, especially for players that are developing early. It can really,
I think again, it's another symptom of the outdated Allegri mentality that he doesn't trust kids.